Hey everybody, this is your host Final Man Jeb. You're tuned into Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio podcasts. Today's episode is Charlie Overbey. He was in with a band called Charlie Overbey and the Broken Arrows, but he also opened for Duane Betts, as that's how I met him, but he also opened for Motorhead, and some incredible stories within this podcast. Remember, listen closely and learn something new. We got great video here, production by Mason Scan, editing and all that stuff. I want to thank him there during this intro, and thank you to RoboJack Records for always sponsoring our show. You can check out our show on madwaspradio.com weekly, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. every Friday. Also re-airs on Tuesday, so keep an eye out for that. Don't know the exact times for that one. This is the podcast section here on YouTube. Subscribe, like, and comment, the usual stuff. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. But we're here today with Charlie Overbey. I met Charlie when he was opening for Duane Betts at the Richfield Playhouse in Connecticut. Charlie, how are you?
Can't complain, man. Thanks for having me, Jeb.
No problem. And perfect. I'm glad we figured out the time thing and we got you in because this is exciting. I wanted to hear about the tour. Tell me the rest of that tour was, how the rest of that went.
Well, it was awesome. I mean, Duane and Barry and Johnny are such good guys, and so it was really cool. And Nate, the tour manager, is just a unbelievable dude. So it was really fun to get on the road with those guys, and it was incredible to get out on the road after 2 years of sitting around.
Yeah.
So it was really incredible. I mean, it was a 3-leg run. So we did the East Coast first, and then we went and did the South, which was very cool because I got to bring my daughter along, who is just an incredible musician, violinist, and she's sponsored by Gibson. So
very cool.
Yeah, that was cool. And then we did the Midwest, which was awesome. And now it's done, and I wish we were still out there doing it.
Always the post-tour like depression type thing where you're like, I just want to be back. It's kind of like when you get in a lower spectrum of people that are don't tour as much. It's like finding your favorite show, and when you finish it, you got to look for the next show, and you kind of So we'll talk about future plans towards the end of the interview and see what you got coming. But I wanted to ask you what I ask all my guests, usually first, but I want to change it up a little bit. What got you into music?
Oh man, got me into music. My old man was from Arkansas and played guitar. I've got his 47 J45, and he was heavily into Johnny Cash. Like
awesome.
It was basically all he listened to, And so at a young age, I was, kind of pushed into that world. And my mom's English, so she was into Benny Hill. So we were either watching Benny Hill or Hee Haw, So it was a weird dichotomy of strange, funny sarcasm and music around my house. And then I just, it was just a natural progression to get into punk rock. I mean, I was really into the early rock and roll, and then I got into punk rock but yeah, I mean, I don't know, music just kind of presented itself as awesome, and I followed it.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned Benny Hill, since Unlikely Places does air in England. That's the show gets sent from the US over to England, and then they air it, so the audience will love that. And then also, I wanted to mention too, I love Benny Hill, and I love Monty Python. I grew up on like watching the Monty Python, Bonzo Dog Band, any of that stuff. I couldn't get enough of because my dad's older, but it was just something that I didn't expect to know or to get a hold of, and then I was hooked. And I was always been like, love that humor. And when I write radio dramas here and there, and I like to write with that kind of humor that Monty Python had. So it was cool to hear that, because Benny Hill was right around the same lines, and just such amazing fun to be had when comedy was a little more simple back then, and it was a little more, everything was left to the open eye instead of being explained to you on a plate, which I love. So
right. Yeah,
it's so much. Times have changed where now it's like you spoon fed the comedy, and it's like, oh, I'm supposed to laugh here. Okay.
Right. Yeah, but it's a new world these days.
Yeah, it's different. It's definitely different. But I think music will always be something that no matter how many times life changes and how many things happen, you have music to kind of fall back on when things are tough, of the world that you want to imagine or used to live in. And you could close your eyes, put those headphones on, and enjoy, anything. It's amazing.
on all sides, for us as listeners, we can dive into that song that takes us back to another place and time.
Yeah.
And as writers,
Yes.
we can escape the craziness that's happening, or we can write about the craziness that's happening. Not necessarily everybody wants to hear songs about the craziness that's happening, but
It's true.
I think it's important to stay in the reality of things and to have a voice, especially in this day and age.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
Is
It's like a lot of people, struggling too. And I think it's hard to voice what you feel, especially I'm young, I'm 23. So I sit here and I wonder where I belong sometimes, but I know music has always been like a calling. The radio was always something I always wanted to do and always just wanted to keep doing it. And when we met, it was just, I saw you walk out. I was like, I got to talk to him. And then that was the picture at the end of everybody. And I know you were standing on the side, but we had you, it was everybody, Duane, everybody. It was like blown away by that. I was blown away the fact that Duane Betts even came on the show. I was so excited that we got him and got it on a show, and then to come to a show and I was more blown away by the opener because I kind of didn't know you. I think I was blown away by the excitement of somebody that talks about their songs and kind of goes in depth and then plays them, and nobody's saying just get to it. Everybody's enjoying it, which I think is such a powerful thing because it's hard to get those audiences to captivate them. How do you go about bringing those kind of captivating the audience? Do you ever get nervous or anything when you start talking about one of your songs?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I mean, I think that honesty and truth always wins,
Mm-hmm.
and especially when you're standing up there with an acoustic guitar and it's kind of your job, I think, is to take people on a roller coaster ride of, fun and sad and get people thinking about stuff, because that's what reminds us that we're really still alive,
Yeah.
And a lot of times people don't necessarily want to hear the stories of a song unless the song is about a great story. So if you come out in a way where you don't make it some big, long, boring,
Mm-hmm.
drama, docudrama, which I tend to do because I tend to talk a lot. But, I have to remind myself when I'm up there, okay, dude, you only have 30 minutes. Don't blow 20 of it talking. But, I think it's important. And I think that if people know what they're going to, the short journey of song that they're going to be taking, I think it makes it easier and more enjoyable to get into the tune,
It pulled me in because, you're on there and everybody, is waiting for Duane Betts. That's usually when the opener's there, you know that there's that slight, they're just waiting for the main act. And I'm kind of in their way. I'm in their way for them having that main act. And then you're like, well, I could be the wall and I could just do whatever, or I could be that amazing act that somebody goes, I'm glad I went today and discovered this new person. I know I work for a music venue as well. And a lot of times in the main act, you have a lot of people going, oh, there's an opener. And it's like, open your minds a little bit. You might find something that you never thought you could expect to hear. And I was just so excited to hear somebody new that I was so into. And it was nice when I met you over by the new Richfield Playhouse too. That was they just opened up that whole section down by the bar. It used to just be kind of a simple, just walk into the theater and that was it. It looks beautiful. It looks very nice.
Incredible venue. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. The sounds there. I mean, they get some really cool acts too. Just to, they got Robert Fripp coming from King Crimson just to talk about his life with his manager. I'm like, that's an interesting show, for diehard Crimson fanatics that I'm tempted to go because I like all that kind of out there stuff too. And it's just, they got a lot of good shows coming, and it was cool to see Duane Betts. I mean, when's the chance you get to see Dickie Betts' kid and then get to meet him? It was like such a cool experience. And everybody else was amazing. It was just something so special. But I was looking into your tour history as well, and I saw that you opened up for Motorhead. Now, is this the Motorhead with Lemmy? Is this? Oh, this is amazing. Yeah. How did this come about?
Oh man, I'm old, dude. I've been around a long time. My history, if you dive into it and you dig deep enough, my history is really long and thick. And I'm going to be 55, and
wow.
I have been doing this. I mean, when I was I don't tell a lot of people this, but when I was 15, I was opening for Poison and
Wow.
Stryper and, GNR. And I was born and raised in Los Angeles. So I have been through many eras of rock and roll and reinvented myself several times. And it's just a natural progression, I think. I mean, people end up saying, how did you end up? Like I said, I was into punk. I was into metal when I was
Mhm.
young, got into punk. And then, when the whole rock and roll Sunset Strip thing was happening, I was in that. I was there, and so people will say to me, like, how did you end up in this singer-songwriter world? And I think it's just a natural progression as you grow and you come to understand life a bit more and uh, realize how simple and difficult it really is,
Mhm.
and you have more to write about. Um, I think it's a natural progression to write real songs as opposed to songs about, whiskey. And
Yeah.
not that I don't like writing songs about whiskey
Yeah.
because
I got you.
because I like whiskey. But I think that I don't know. I mean, to answer your question, touring with Lemmy and Lemmy had become a good friend of mine, and I toured with Suicidal, and when you were talking
Oh,
about
wow.
everyone bums out on the opener, my mind went back to being on tour with Suicidal and having to win over that crowd.
Wow.
That was gnarly, and I was in this cowpunk band called Custom Made Scare,
Ooh.
and it was like a mix between. They used to say it was a mix of Buck Owens and Motorhead, and
Really? Ooh.
yeah, it was really fast and it was fun. It was a killer band, and so having to win over those kind of crowds is way easier or way harder than it
Yeah,
is to,
I got you. Yeah.
you know. Um, but you know, yeah, I mean, I did a lot of touring with a lot of different people, and my progression and story is long, and I'm
Well,
right where
that's
I'm supposed.
why. Yeah, and that's why I love having guests that there's more than just I showed up, I played, and this is it. I like having guests that have that complex, like, I actually, did you know this about me? And I love having that on the show and bringing that forth. So that's amazing. But
Yeah,
I had to read because I go in blind to some of my guests because I want to act as like the observer and don't want to like, know too much and just enjoy being the fan of learning. But sometimes I'm like, it strikes me that there's a little bit more to someone. So I looked at your about page and I was like, I'm glad I did because I got so many more questions than just the basic, hey, this, and this, so it's
right.
amazing. But I see, kind of reminds me when you mentioned the cowpunk, I'm thinking like early Meat Puppets. I'm thinking like how they drastically changed. And like from that, before Nirvana said, hey, this is the band that inspired us. And now they were known. And we're friends with Derek Bostrom. Our show is friends with him. And it's just so much fun to be able to talk to these guys. And they're this like the nicest guys. But you look at them on stage, you're like, I don't know if I would want to know who these people are. But
Yeah,
that's why you gotta take away the face and just get to know people. People are not everybody's out to get you, and that's what I love
yeah,
about music is that you could fall in love with songs from a person that you've never known because your story could hit so aligned with like a song and be like, yeah, he wrote that about me and he doesn't even know me, something like that, as
right.
much as a story. But
That's
it's
the beauty
just,
of the connection of music,
oh yeah,
is that we're all kind of the same person, just running on different paths. I mean, we're
yeah,
all we're all in the same. I guess we're all in the same boat, I would say. And so, if you write something that's real and generally from the heart and honest, most people are going to get it, unless they think they're too punk rock to dig the Eagles.
hmm,
That kind of like a thing, which I had a conversation this morning about with somebody, and they were bagging on the Eagles, and I was like,
really,
okay, all right, I get it, you know, but you can't say. that those guys didn't write great songs and weren't talented. And,
No.
you know, if you say the Eagles suck, you just don't know what you're talking about. You might not like the Eagles.
Yeah, you're just knee-jerk responding to, I don't like them, so here's my opinion, you know, instead of, there's got to, I mean, I love Jackson Brown, and I wasn't big into soft rock.
Conversation too.
Yeah, I was like, I love Jackson Brown. I don't think, and a lot of people are like, oh, he's soft. I don't care. And I'm like, his music, I Late for the Sky, when I was my first record ever. My first vinyl was Late for the Sky. And my dad got it for me. He goes, you need to hear this album. And forever to be, that is like the album that helped me through my teens. Like, it's just something that it kept me going. I mean, life is depressing if you don't have things that make you happy. It's just the way that the kind of the default normal thing is just, it's sadness. A lot of us are so bummed with the news. Are bummed that our opinions aren't being heard. We're all this. I can turn on a record and I can listen to Jackson Brown and go, I could build this world in my head. And I wish more people had that ability, because I think we would all kind of turn the switch and just say, time to just relax a little bit. Put an album on, but the world is so fast paced. And we saw with the whole COVID thing, how quickly we went right back to the fast pace instead of just like, we could have came back slower. We could have came back in a way that would have, I think, allowed more music to come in. And note, we went right back to our old habits, but I'm glad to see the venues are filling up again. I'm glad to see new venues being made. Connecticut just had their Bridgeport just open, the Bridgeport Amp. Styx and REO Speedwagon were opening night. Finally got my chance to see REO Speedwagon. I was blown away. And I was more excited for the opener. There was a guy, Jay Saros, who came out to be the opener of a new venue on opening night. No one can say that. Like, it's very rare that an artist could say, I opened for the opening night of this show, and it was Styx and REO Speedwagon that I was opening for. Like, how can you? I was so excited for him, and I got to talk with him and meet him, which was great. And I always feel that I'm lucky. I've met the Wild Feathers. They're a really nice band. They've actually played with the Allan Betts band. They've opened for them, and I talked with them. And the drummer was a big Jellyfish fan. And I'm just like, not a lot of people know Jellyfish from the 90s. And they're like a very power pop.
Jellyfish.
Yeah, I love Jellyfish.
Yeah, that was a great band.
Yeah, Roger's actually a friend of the show as well. We interviewed him on my first show with an old co-host of mine on the Jeb and Green podcast before I went solo and started my own radio show. We actually had the Licorice Quartet. That's Eric Dover from Slash's band, also from Slash's Snake Pit. He's a good friend of mine. We talk all the time, which is awesome. And it's just, and then there's that. Then it was Roger and Tim and Eric from Jellyfish. And it was just an awesome interview. And I didn't realize how approachable Roger Joseph Manning here, who you think would be like the most hard to get. And he's like the nicest guy. And he's like willing to tell you anything. And it's just that, you know, if you're willing to put forth that, you know, I've always, my brain's all over the place just getting excited, but I always look at the facts that of like things where artists go out and they complain, well, this artist didn't sign something for me. How about you get to have a conversation with them? I feel so more rewarded when talking to an artist like Duane Betts that I didn't want to ask for signatures, but I was like, I'm there. I'll make the thumbnail. I'll put it on my wall as a memory, but I'd rather have a conversation and just talk. And, you know, if I get to meet Paul McCartney, I'll be tempted as a human being to want to ask for a signature, but I totally respect that they don't want to do them anymore. I'd rather have a nice conversation with Paul McCartney and be like, how did you get here? Like, how did all this happen? You know?
I mean, I think that artists, if you don't come at them with the immediately, at least with the, hey, can I get a photo? Or, hey, can I get your autograph? If you just talk to them like normal people, then I don't know how to say this, but they kind of, because most artists are just normal dudes and gals, you know, and if you talk to them on that normal level, they relate to you more than they don't put you in that fan category right away. Yeah. And it becomes much more comfortable for people. If you come up immediately and say, can I get an autograph? Can I take a photo? Immediately, it's like, oh yeah, you're in that fan category. And it's like, okay, this might be crazy, so I got to get away. But
and you never know. You never know, because I remember hearing stories about Peter Tork from the Monkees. He lived in Connecticut for a little bit where I am. And there was times where like he just wanted to go out and play with his blues band. And there was like crazy people that would, you know, because the Monkees and everything, they'd come at him and like he'd have to have the cops involved and protection. Now, that doesn't make you spend the rest of your days going, oh, I love doing what I do. It makes you go, we're going to play tonight and I need high security. And I'm literally Peter Tork of the Monkees. Like, it's like, it's just tough. I get that. And
Yeah.
sometimes I have to like remind myself, they're just like us. They put their pants on the same way we do. They're humans. And I've had so many good relationships because of that, and able to have like, you know, these musicians that I know that I'm able to text and call because I'm not just a fan, I'm a friend, which is such an amazing feeling. So definitely that might be the highlight. I'm going to put that as a highlight for the podcast. Be like, right as soon as the podcast starts, you know, don't just ask for signatures, you know, become more than just that. But we'll move in.
It's okay. It happens. And I think a lot of the reason that, you know, people will say like, oh, that guy's a jerk off, or, you know, she was not cool, is generally because people get tired of being bombarded, especially if you're like trying to eat dinner or something like that. And, you know, it's, you know, people become artists for a couple of reasons. Some people are writing songs and doing the thing because it's in them and that's what they love to do. Some people became artists to chase that fame and love that whole thing, you know, of like, hey, this person's coming at me. They know me. And it's all like this big,
and they get happy. And you know what? That's two types of people. And I always look at it, if that's what they wanted, then they actually achieved their goal. They got what they wanted, but not every artist is the same. Cause I'm the same way. I'm not looking for fame. Fame scared me. When I saw the Beatles running on Hard Day's Night, I didn't go, hey, I want to do that. I was like, I want to stay as far away from that as possible. I just want to play my music, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think as kids, you know, the ones that, those of us that started out very young, like I did, the whole fame thing seemed to be really intriguing. And there was a lot that came with it because rock and roll was kind of different in those days anyway. We all kind of wanted to be David Lee Roth, or, you know, we just thought, oh, that's so cool. But nowadays, I think it's a different animal. And I think that people, you know, a lot has happened with people getting stalked, and the internet is, you know, crazy with that. And so I think people do tend to look a little more for their solitude and their privacy. I mean, I don't really understand that level of fame because I never had that. I've been lucky enough to stay like an underground kind of cult guy, you know, as far as music. I never had, you know, massive success. I've been very, very lucky. I've been able to make records and tour and keep doing it, you know, from 15 to almost 55. That's a long run.
And that's awesome to keep going and not, and I'm sure you had burnout. I'm sure that's just a natural thing. And I'm sure that came about. Really?
I never had burnout.
Oh, that's amazing. Any advice on those that suffer from that, or how did you get through just keep going to the next step type thing?
Well, again, I think that comes down to you just do it because it's what you have to do, or, you know, the people that think or thought that they wanted it and then it got to be too much, which I know those people too. And now they're just kind of recluse hiding out, and, you know, which I think only builds the mystique and the fame more. So it's kind of a catch-22.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I only know my experience, and you know, I have friends that have different experiences. Some of them I would trade with for a day, but not for a week. You know?
Yeah, I get that. It's like, hey, I would give up everything for a day, but I want to go back because it's our lives. We're comfortable after a while. Because I know you hear that a lot. It's like, oh, I would trade anything to do that. And I used to be that way when I was growing up because you want an escape, you want the next level. But I've always noticed that I actually really enjoy the struggles too, because there's something, if they don't harm you and they're just teaching you something, life teaches you a ton of things. And if you're not open to see that, you're always going to be in the dump saying, well, it's only me, poor me. These are happening to me constantly because, well, that's my life. but you're not opening your eye to see that, okay, the reason why this is happening is my body needs a break, and it's telling me, hey, I'm sick because you've done too much, take a break. It's the, natural responses. It's not trying to take away from you. Greater things are to come. I always look at that way to try to stay positive and keep going, because I'm a musician as well as a radio. I do a lot, and I do have burnout here and there, but I think it's burnout not from what I'm doing. It's never what I'm doing. It's never the music, never the radio. It's never that.
It's like my burnout was, I did burn out during COVID. I burned out on not being able to tour and not being my record. And, but there is the burnout too of when you're on the road and you're on the road too long and you're in the van or the bus or whatever with a bunch of people. It doesn't matter how much you love them. They're going to get on your nerves.
Because it's like family.
It's like being married to like 5, 6 different people. And it's a hard marriage, Yeah. So there is that burnout when you're like, man, I can't wait to get back home. But then you get back home and you're like, after 2 or 3 days, you're like, wow, I can't wait to get back on the road.
Yep.
So it's a catch-22.
But I think that's just what makes, and that's where great songs come from, because now you're writing about those experiences. You're writing about, if you choose to write about those. And like, as you mentioned earlier, there's nothing wrong with that Whiskey song, that song about a girl, the song about that. It works. But if you want to be a deeper songwriter, go ahead and do it. There's nothing against that either, which is amazing. And that moves into our next question. I wanted to talk about your new album. I have been fascinated by it. I remember when we met, you texted me and you're like, Vinyl Man Jeb, I had vinyl for sale and I was already gone. I was like, oh, I missed it because I was, just so wrapped up in everything, and I forgot. I was like, so I have it on the website. When I get some funds, I'm definitely going to purchase a vinyl if they're still, in stock. But let's talk about your new album, Broken Arrow. Who's involved? How did this come about? And tell us as many stories as you'd like about it.
Well, that album is actually, in this day and age, old now.
Oh, okay.
Because that record was produced by Ted Hutt. Incredible producer and very good friend of mine. And he was a founding member of Foggy Molly. And he does all the Dropkick stuff. He won a Grammy for Old Crow Medicine Show.
Oh, wow.
He did the Gaslight Anthem early records. I mean, he does.
Oh, wow. That's incredible stuff. Wow.
Yeah, Lucero. He's done incredible records. But so it was a real honor and a pleasure working with him, A, because he's my friend, and B, because he's just a beast and an incredible producer. And, we went in to make that record, and we had just come off tour with Blackberry Smoke. Like, we were literally 2 or 3 days home.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah. And I remember getting home from the tour, and that night that we came in, I had a show with William Elliott Whitmore. And then the next day we were in the studio. So, and he had been making the Dropkick Murphys record. So he flew home to start this record, and we had gone in and got drum tones and did all that stuff with the engineer before he even came in. And then he came in and we sat and we listened to the, drum tones, and I think we had laid down 2 or 3 rough, like just live tracks. And he took me outside. He said, Charlie, because he's English, Charlie, I don't think this is the record that you should make. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he says, well, because we were really about to make a big Southern rock record. And big guitars, I had 2 incredible guitar players. Yeah. And, so he was like, I think you should record a record of those songs that you played for me when we were just sitting around at your place with the acoustic. And I was like, the singer-songwriter songs? Like the slow, songs? And he goes, yes, the beautiful ones. this old house just got so cold. Felt your hand unleash your soul. In this room of all those years, just like that, life disappears. And it's so sad when mother shakes, shakes, shakes. Part of me died tonight. Part of me died tonight. Part of me died tonight when you did. Now and then I think I'll call. It just rings forever and on. Time ticks slowly on this watch. It's hard to walk in this old garage. And it's so sad when mother shakes, shakes, shakes. Part of me died tonight. Part of me died tonight. Part of me died tonight when you did. And it's still so hard to live in. It's still so hard, but living's good. Still so hard, but living's good. Living's good. Yeah, living's good. And that cat, he now stays clear of your room where you'd slept for years. And this old house can turn so cold. In the warmth of home, sweet home. Part of me died tonight. Part of me died tonight. Part of me died tonight when you did. So we ended up making that record, which I wasn't 100% expecting to happen. But I think it's a pretty good record. I mean, there's some deep songs on it. And it came out in 2018. And my trajectory was to make a record every 2 years. So the EP was 2016 because I hadn't done any solo stuff. I had always been, in these rock bands and cowpunk bands and different bands. And so I did this EP, The California Kid, in 2016. And then Broken Arrow was 2018. And then my new record, which is going to be called Saturday Nights and Sunday Mornings.
Ooh.
We started tracking in 2020.
Yep.
2020 kind of not a great year in the history of rock. So, we decided we were going to wait to make the record because studios were like, yeah, no, we're not going to be open. And even, a lot of musicians, all of us were kind of like, yeah, I don't really know what's going on. We'll just stay home for a while. And so that record kind of just got bounced, and it's taken a long time. I mean, 2018, it's going to come out at the beginning of 23.
Wow.
That's 5 years.
That's a long time just to get something out that,
a long time. But, during the whole pandemic thing, there were some good silver linings to that. We did that's a whole nother animal. Lone Hawk hats.
I was going to go into that next anyway. So if you wanted to continue on that, I would love to hear more about that.
Yeah. So, I'd been making hats for a long time, and I make hats for a lot of people. And I did that 1883 show, and I mean, Blackberry Smoke, Marcus King, the Black Crows, Sheryl Crow, all these, Duane.
That's amazing.
People. I make hats for a lot of people. So when the pandemic was happening, this story could be really long, but I'll make it really short.
Sure, whatever. Either way.
Yeah, we decided to. Navajo Nation got hit really hard, and they've got no hospitals there. They barely have water, So in some parts, so we decided, okay, let's do a fundraiser for Navajo Nation. And we could probably raise like 10 or 20 grand or something, which would be huge for them. And because to me, that is a massive amount of money. I mean, but anyway, so we got Charlie Starr, Chris Robinson, Duane Betts, Sheryl Crow, all these people that wear Lone Hawks. My buddy from Guns N' Roses, like tons of people.
Awesome.
And they all signed hats that they had and sent them to us. And we had an online auction all on Instagram Live. And we raised over 100 grand.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. That's a story. That's awesome.
It was amazing. It was really, I've got chicken skin right now about it, because being able to be involved in something humanitarian like that at a time of such stress and panic and loss, when so many people were dying, and I mean, it was just, I lost several friends in that. And just yesterday was a year anniversary of one of my buddies that died, just a year ago.
Oh, wow.
And so, that was a huge silver lining for me, was to be able to be involved in something like that. But we also did a thing where we did a record for Save Our Stages called Me and My Guitar. And there's Charlie Starr and Marcus King and all these people. Like, I think it's 15 artists all did a song with just an acoustic guitar. And we released this thing called Me and My Guitar, and it was for Save Our Stages. So you can still go on to like band. I think it came out through Bandcamp. Lately you're the light and I'm the dark. Sometimes you're the fire and I'm the spark. Tell myself we'll just get through today, and we are all that matters anyway. So I hold my head up high and I'll do it all for you. Fight on through the darkest times and march toward the truth. I will do it all for you. And if the morning came and you were gone, climbed into a rocket to the sun, time would simply stop dead in its tracks, and all the stars in me would turn to black. And we can't have that. No, we can't have that. So I hold my head up high, and I'll do it all for you. Fight on through the darkest times and march toward the truth. I will do it all for you. Maybe you're the oak and I'm the owl. Maybe you're the wolf and I'm your owl. Falling, we keep falling. I can't swim and you can't fly. And I will be your wings tonight, your moon and your sky. And I will do it all for you. I will do it all for you. I will do it all. I'll go through it all for you. We also, it was the time when, right after John Prine died.
Oh, jeez.
And that was just so heavy. That was such a massive moment in music history.
He's a big part of music, without a doubt. There's no questions asked. It's
huge.
Like huge writer.
Yeah. And when he passed away, it was such a real moment of like, okay, wow, this is real. This is really real. And I don't care what anybody says because we just lost John Prine.
Yeah.
So, I was not quiet about my opinions, and I'm still not quiet about my opinions. I will probably never ever be quiet about my opinions because I'm just. But
yeah.
I wrote that night. I wrote this song called "Ode to John Prine," and I sat on it for a little while and went in and recorded this version of it, and then I remember the Save Our Stages thing. This is before we did the Me and My Guitar, and Save Our Stages was happening, and I sent the song over to my buddy Jimmy Vivino, who's just the most incredible guy and such a just sweet human and an amazing, unbelievable guitar player. I sent it over to him and I said, Jimmy, you should check out this song. I think we should record it maybe for Save Our Stages and get some cats to play on it. We can, we can record, everyone can record it from wherever they are. And so he wrote me back. He said, man, this is good. I'm going to put together a rhythm section. I'll call you back. I was
awesome.
Like, okay. So he calls me back. I'm thinking he's going to call me, in a couple of days, 3 days, whatever. He calls me back pretty fast. And he goes, okay, I got Steve Ferroni from Tom Petty to play drums. And Daryl Jones from the Rolling Stones to play bass. And he says, Benmont Tench might do it, but he's got to have a knee surgery. So you might want to be looking around for another B3 guy. So I got in touch with Rami from the Foo Fighters, and Rami was like, oh, yeah, I'm all over it. Send it over.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then LP, I don't know if you know who LP is, but she is just one of the most incredible singers-songwriters of our time.
I'll check her out. I'm not sure too much. I'll check her out because I might play some of her songs on the show. We're always looking for, songs to play.
She's incredible. And
okay.
She was a songwriter and then, had been sort of messing with her career, but was a big songwriter, kind of like a Diane Warren. She wrote songs for a lot of people.
Oh, wow.
And then she exploded. Like in Europe, she's doing, arenas. She's huge in
Wow.
Europe. And here she's, you know, she does like the Greek theater, and, you know, she's
cool.
big. Yeah, she is, and just an unbelievable, awesome human, and one of my very best, dearest friends, and I love her so much. And I called her and I said, LP, I'm doing this song. I would love to have you sing on it with me. And she was like, yeah, sure.
See this one coming, couldn't read the signs. The higher ups, they say it ain't so, but I can read between the lines. My friend's a non-believer, says that none of it's real. Come November, we'll be missing more than ever, how the high of a concert feels. Take me to another place, take me to another time. Tell me that we're going out tonight to see John Prine. Sometimes I wanna just scream, nowhere to run and hide. Girl, you can change the world, heal the great divide. My friend's an anti-vaxxer, says it'll soon be gone. Me, I'm an anti-taxer, I've been running for way too long. Take me to another place, take me to another time. Tell me that we're going out tonight to see John Prine. Come on home, stay with me. There's a brand new angel in Montgomery. Come on home to the promise of something real. Comes a time when we must reinvent the wheel. Come on home. Sometimes I wanna just scream, nowhere to run and hide. Girl, you can change the world, heal the great divide. So take me to another place, take me to another time. Tell me that we're going out tonight to see John Prine. Take me to another place, take me to another time. Tell me that we're going out tonight to see John Prine. Tell me that we're going out tonight to see. Tell me that you're going out tonight with me. Tell me that we're going out tonight to see John Prine.
So yeah, I mean, you know, getting back to it, I mean, I think there's silver linings to everything in life, and you know, that whole era, that the lost years was, you know, crazy times, and like I said, I lost some of my best friends in that time, but
It's nuts.
you know,
It's real. It's a shame too. It's like it's tough.
They got the ticket to move on, you know.
Yeah.
And I think the ones that are the most bummed are the ones that are stuck here.
I agree. I do actually. I think about it a lot.
But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's you know, it's a beautiful thing. I think to get to go on and yes, we have to leave people that we love, and that's tough, and it's tough for the people that we love to be left behind.
Yeah.
But it's like if you go to New Orleans for a funeral, that's what it's all about.
It's a celebration of life instead of
celebrating that life. The Irish are like that too. It's kind of
a good thing. What's your plans for the future? What do you got coming? I know you mentioned you're working on an album that's been sitting, but anything else?
Well, yeah.
Awesome.
I've got a new radio show.
Ooh. All right.
Yes, the record we're working on the record. The record's going to come out in January of 2023, I believe. We were going to release like in November, December, but I think it's going to be January, maybe even February. Because this record has got to be awesome. So
we're excited as listeners. I'm very excited. I'm personally very excited. So keep me posted. We could run some promo for you and just say, hey, he was on our show. He has a new album. Check it out. Stuff like that.
And then we recently, a year ago on Saturday, we left Los Angeles and moved to New Mexico.
Oh wow!
And we're in a small town, but very, very cool town. We're half an hour south of Santa Fe, 50 minutes north of Albuquerque. And there is a town called Madrid. They call it Madrid, but it's Madrid. And there's a little radio station there that's free form. 96.9 FM.
Ooh.
And I have a radio show starting Saturday nights at 7 o'clock, awesome. Which is pretty cool. So, it's KMRD 96.9, and it streams all over the world.
I was going to say, is it streaming too? Because what I'll do is I'd love to listen and just let me know your first date. I'll put it on my calendar. I'd love to listen in as well because I enjoy radio shows too.
This Saturday. It's
this
tomorrow.
Saturday. Perfect. Tomorrow. Okay, perfect.
Mountain time.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
perfect.
I guess that's maybe 9 o'clock your time.
All right, and that's 9 at night, 9 p.m. Or is that perfect? I will tune in. I'll put it on my calendar. If all goes well. I got my phone. We have our phone wherever. I just put my headphones in and I'll have it. So I'll tune in.
Yeah. The app's on the phone. It's KMRD 96.9. I think you just put in KMRD Madrid. Madrid.
We'll do. All right. Perfect.
Right. Yeah. Cool, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And keep in touch. If you ever want to do a song together or something, you got some time and you need an extra guitarist guy or some voiceovers, let me know anytime. Love to do something. Cool. Enjoy your day.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the video on Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio. I'm your host, Vinyl Man Jeb. Just remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you guys next time in the next podcast. Great to see you guys every time. Check us out weekly on the radio show. It's Fridays, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT every Friday, whether it be a rerun or a brand new episode. See you soon.